So what is going on, everybody? Fernando Silva here with another video, and Apple just released iPadOS 15.1 Beta 3 to all developers to try out and to test out and to give feedback to see if we actually see some bug improvements and performance improvements along the way. So without further ado, let's see exactly what's new and if there's any actual tangible differences that you guys are going to take notice of. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's get right into this video, everybody. The first thing that I do want to show you is the actual build number. So if we go to the settings, go into the about, click on the build number itself. Like I said, we're on 15.1 and it's 19B5060D. So again, the letters are getting closer and closer to A, and then finally that GM or RC edition, the release candidate. So again, we're getting closer and closer to the public release date, and that's what signifies that. And then in terms of actual size, if we go, I like to take a screenshot every single time we do an update. So if you guys follow me on Twitter, right here, at NanoPrince93, you guys will get to see this early. But we're looking at 786.6 megabytes. So give yourselves about 1.5 to 2 gigs of space in order to get this installed. It's a little bit different depending on what device you're on. But again, I've seen anywhere from 500 megabytes to about 1.2 gigabytes, again, depending on the device. And I'm using a 12.9-inch M1 iPad Pro. So the first thing we're going to talk about is actually AirPods Pro. So here I have my AirPods Pro. These are the original ones. I think there's only one version, right? I got it in a nice little Andar leather case in black. So these are the AirPods Pro, and what I'm going to be talking about is the new conversation boost feature that finally came out to AirPods Pro and AirPods Max. Unfortunately, if you have a pair of AirPods 2 or the regular AirPods, you will not be getting this feature. But what you want to do is actually open up your AirPods and first check to see what firmware you're on. So if we go into settings, go back into about, and if you scroll down, make sure that your AirPods are open. If you close it, you will not get this option. Make sure they're connected, but you can see that I'm on 4A400, and that is the latest firmware for this AirPods Pro. And the way to update it is, it's kind of random the way you update the AirPods Pro. You got to have them closed, they got to be charged, and they kind of just happen overnight. There's no way to force an update with these AirPods Pro, which is really, really weird. So you got to just kind of go in and check, every day to see if it actually updated overnight. So as long as you're on the latest software, then you'll automatically get in line to get these updated. Don't expect it to happen if you're on an older software, especially not right away. But again, this is how we find out that we're on the right firmware version. So like I said, the new feature is something called Conversation Boost. And I took a couple screenshots that I want to show you guys. And this is what you're kind of greeted with. So this is a new splash screen for headphone audio customization. And the way you get here is you actually go into your settings, go into accessibility, then you're going to scroll down and go down to your AirPods. And once you go there, you want to go to audio accessibility settings and then headphone accommodations. So when you click on that headphone accommodations, then you'll get this splash screen. You have to make sure that your headphones are actually on you. So you have to put them into your ear. You can't just set them up like this because you go through a little hearing process. And then once that happens, you get into this customized transparency mode, which if we go back into my settings, you can see that I have right here. So customize audio setup. Again, it runs you through this entire process. You're going to want to have your headphones on. But then when I actually grab the AirPods and put them in my ear, hopefully it doesn't mess anything up with recording. Okay, and then once you go through that entire setup process and get it all checked out, you can actually now get this new feature called transparency mode inside of that headphone audio setting. And then here is where you can actually turn on your Conversation Boost. So Conversation Boost is a feature that focuses your AirPods Pro on the person talking in front of you, making it easier to hear in a face-to-face conversation. So, and then even now that I have my AirPods in my ears and I'm talking into the actual camera, while I'm recording this, I can actually hear myself speak in a little bit of a crisper tone with all the ambient noise around me being lowered, which is nice to see, and you can easily toggle that off. And then another way to actually check on it is if you go into your control center, you want to add this hearing section right here. So you grab this from bottom over here, you add it, go out here, go into your control center, tap on that, and now you have all of these settings turned on for Conversation Boost and ambient noise reduction. So that's a cool little feature that was added to the AirPods Pro and again, the AirPods Max. Unfortunately, like I said, the AirPods 2 did not get this feature. Hopefully maybe Apple can do something to help us out with that, but maybe it's just like a physical hardware situation that those AirPods actually can't do this because they don't have any way to manipulate ambient noise around you. But that is the biggest feature on the AirPods Pro side. And now what I want to do is actually walk you guys through these release notes because there weren't any new features aside from the AirPods Pro feature that were added to 15.1 Beta 3. A lot of it was bug fixes, a lot of it was performance enhancements, making sure that things like SharePlay are working correctly, and then on the iOS side, making sure that the COVID vaccine passport is actually working correctly. So again, Apple's just kind of finalizing this beta program for 15.1 to be released, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks to the entire public. And then the last thing I do want to touch on is battery life, because battery life is such an important thing. Now, my battery usage might not be as high as normal on this guy because I have been using the iPad mini the last 2 weeks, But if you go over the last 10 days, you can see that we're averaging about 3.5 hours of screen on time. We go on a day like this one where we have almost 10 hours of screen on time with about 150% battery usage, which means that we're probably dealing with about 7 to 7.5 hours on a full battery. You can see we had a lot of Zoom there, LumaFusion, YouTube TV, YouTube. And then the best way to analyze your battery is that to actually click on one of these days where you're using it a lot. So 3.5 hours of screen on time, but you can see pretty much 100% usage, which is kind of crazy to think about. And the reason is because LumaFusion took up about 60% battery with only an hour and a half of usage. Now again, I'm on full brightness, I'm connected to the Magic Keyboard the entire time, so it's a little bit different in terms of having to optimize your battery, but here you can see the situations where your battery is being hit the most. So PS4 Remote Play, 2.5 hours, about 2 hours and 4 minutes of usage, took up 50% of my battery. So I probably could have continued to play on the Remote Play for another 2 hours, but again, I was Bluetooth connected with a PS4 controller, I was using the Magic Keyboard as a kind of stand on my lap to be able to use that. So a lot of things working against me from a battery perspective that you guys should take a look at and start to analyze. And then a day like Wednesday, 2 hours and 45 minutes of screen on time, most of it with Affinity Photo, 21 minutes, 29%. So you can see that Affinity Photo sucks that juice, that battery life a ton when it comes to the iPad Pro. But that's gonna do for the battery. Let's get out of this view, go to the normal view, and like I said, not too many actual tangible differences, just another beta update to make sure that Apple's fixing all these bugs and making sure that we have the best experience possible come public release time. So as you saw, the biggest improvement was actually around AirPods Pro and AirPods Max. Unfortunately, if you have AirPods 2 and below, those features aren't going to be available to you. I know Apple's kind of discriminating a little bit, but what can we do? But those were the major improvements in terms of actual something tangible and a feature that we finally saw come to AirPods Pro that we've been wanting to have since I think it released. Or I mean, I don't know, it's been like 6 months since Apple's been teasing that like conversation boost situation and feature with the AirPods Pro. But outside of that, we saw some battery life improvements, and Apple's just getting ready for SharePlay to release to all the public with iOS and iPadOS 15.1, because I know that a lot of people, because I'm actually kind of curious to use it with other people aside from just using it with all the different iOS devices that I personally have. I want to test it in the real world as well, and I'm excited for SharePlay. But that's going to do for this video, everybody. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, check out channel sponsor Paperlike in the description below to keep your iPads protected, because remember, that screen is your #1 way to interact with that device and the #1 resale value when it does come time to resell. But that's going to do it for this video. Until next time, peace.